Absolutely. You smile. Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Luverne Public Schools and this wonderful facility known as the Performing Arts for today's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. My name is Craig Oftedal, and I am the superintendent here at the Luverne Public School and also your master of ceremony for this event today. After listening to the stories and legacies of all the people up on the stage, after the ceremony, we will make our way to the canopy area for the unveiling of the names on our Alumni Hall of Fame wall. We will return into the Commons area and then go upstairs, and on the mezzanine level, we will unveil the names for the Educator Hall of Fame. Following all of that, the Luverne Education Association will be serving light refreshments in the Commons. And if you are inclined to stick around, there is a tailgate meal just to the west of the ticket booth by the football field tonight, put on by the Luverne Education Legacy Fund. Game time tonight is 7 o'clock. LeSueur Henderson is the opponent. Both teams are 3-0. It should be a great battle. Let's get started. Our first entrant into the 2025 Hall of Fame class for the alumni is Tim Connell. Tim was born and raised in Luverne. He graduated from Luverne High School in 1967. He attended St. John's University after high school, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1971. He then attended William Mitchell College of Law from 1972 to 1976 and received his Juris Doctorate degree. Tim returned to Luverne and worked at the law firm of Skews, Closteber, and Connell from 1976 to 1987. He was also the county attorney during this time. In 1987, Tim was appointed district judge of the 5th Judicial District by Governor Rudy Perpich. Tim served in that capacity until retiring in 2011. Since that time, Tim continues to serve the judiciary as a mediator. His professional achievements include serving as president of the Minnesota District Judges Association from 2001 to 2002. He founded the Rock Nobles Drug Court program in 2010 and served on numerous statewide committees as a judge. Tim served 6.5 years on the Southwest Initiative Foundation Board of Directors in the capacity of secretary, chair of the Governance and Nominating Committee, and ensuring board members felt equipped to do their duties through orientation sessions and personal support. Tim and his wife Connie were instrumental in putting forth a new model for SWIFT called Growing Home Circles members. This positioned SWIFT's general endowment to wonderful new heights and created great energy and long-term success for the region. Tim also served his community as a board member on the Tri-State Band Festival Committee, and he served on the board at the Luverne Country Club. He was a member of the Luverne Initiatives for Tomorrow board and was a board member of the Southwest Minnesota Regional Legal Services. Tim also gave time and energy to the Luverne hockey program. Both Tim and Connie were passionate about raising funds and facilitating the building and operations of the Blue Mound Ice Arena. Tim also served in the capacity as a radio color commentator for the hockey program. As a former basketball player, he is now known as the resident hockey expert in Luverne. Please welcome Mr. Tim Connell into the Luverne Alumni Hall of Fame.
And Phil Mickelson were at some tournament, they're introducing Tiger, and it was this, and finally Phil says, enough of that. Thank you anyway, Craig. Great to be here today. I'm very honored and very grateful that I can stand here today in front of you, and first of all, offer some thank yous. First of all, to my friend Dan Smines, who I guess was the nominator that got me here in the first place, and then also to the committee, the Hall of Fame committee, that decided I was worthy of that nomination and allowed me to enter here today. The Luverne school system, I thank very much for giving me the education and giving me the opportunity to be here as it continues to grow and prosper and just become better. Very pleased that I was able to be here. Interesting about the school, I'm old enough here where there's some interesting things when I think about this school, and especially standing here in this beautiful facility right now. I had kindergarten, I was kindergarten at what was then the public library in the basement of the library. It's now the basement of Luverne Street Music. That's where I had my kindergarten class. My next was on an old school that was on Highway 75. It later became Fledgling Field. Before then, it was a school that was there, and now it's Dingman Funeral Home. I hope to avoid that place for a while anyway. And after that, went to the what is now the apartments across from the courthouse, not knowing that the courthouse I was looking at then would be one I would be able to enter one day. And then finally, coming up here to a school that was built in 1956 and remains here today just as beautiful and steadfast with the improvements that have been done as it ever has. It's a beautiful place, wonderful place to go to school, wonderful teachers, wonderful education, and just very happy, and it makes me even more honored when I think of how good this school is that I'm entitled to be in the Alumni Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Next up is Diane Ebert. Diane is a 1986 graduate of Luverne High School. Following high school, Diane attended Augustana College, graduating in 1990. Diane then went to William Mitchell College of Law, graduating with a Juris Doctorate in 1993, graduating magna cum laude. To say that Diane has been successful would be an understatement. She joined the law firm of Quinlivan and Hughes in 1990 as the firm's chief executive officer and has been a part of the board of directors for her law firm for over 15 years. She belongs to several professional organizations and in almost all cases has held leadership roles such as secretary, treasurer, vice chair, or chair for each of these organizations. I will name some of these just to show the involvement at the local, state, and national levels. Minnesota Bar Association, South Dakota Bar Association, Minnesota Women Lawyers Association, 7th Judicial District Bar Association, Stearns-Benton County Bar Association. Currently, Diane is the president of the Association of Defense Trial Attorneys. She was appointed by the Minnesota Supreme Court to serve on the Alternative Pathways Implementation Committee in 2024. In January of 2025, Diane was appointed by Chief Justice Natalie Hudson of the Minnesota Supreme Court to be part of the Minnesota Legislative Salary Council. A few of her distinguished awards. She was selected as a top 50 women lawyer in Minnesota. She was selected as a top 50 woman super lawyer in Minnesota. I'm not sure what the difference is, but she might be able to tell me. In 2021, she was the Attorney of the Year for outstanding service to the profession. In 2024, she was Minnesota Lawyer Top Woman in Law. And she was also voted top 50 women attorneys in Minnesota in the years 2014, 2021, and 2024. The focus for Diane is primarily civil litigation, particularly in the employment, government liability, and professional liability areas. She also lectures to colleagues, employees, supervisors, and human resource professionals on employment-related matters, discipline, workplace behavior, evaluations, Family Medical Leave Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, and anti-discrimination legislation. If that is not enough, for over 30 years, Diane has coordinated the St. Cloud Apollo High School Mock Trial Invitational Tournament. Please help me in congratulating Diane Ebert on her entry into the Luverne Alumni.
Well, thank you so much. Judge Connell and I were talking. I can get up and speak with groups of large people, or large groups of people, I should say, and have no time or have no nervousness at all. Sitting here today in front of people that I know and people that have supported me along the way has got me very graphic, so I apologize. First, I want to say thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee, to my family, my friends, and this community for the honor. Kate Washington and Kay Bloom were kind enough to put my name forward for this auspicious award, and I'll forever be grateful. When I received Jane's call, I'll admit that my first thought was, are you sure you're calling the right person? And then to learn that my father, Lauren Carroll, was being inducted as an educator at the same time really made it that much more special and meaningful. It's humbling for me to stand here today because it reminds me of something that has taken me a long time to understand. And that is that no matter how far you go, all roads eventually lead home. Since graduation, life has taken me in directions that I never could have imagined back when I was here. I've been fortunate and had the privilege of building a career as a lawyer, and there have been many successes that I am proud of, many of which Craig mentioned here today. But there's also been many challenges in that career that has stretched me, and plenty of lessons that I've learned along the way. But the truth is that none of my accomplishments happened in isolation. I know these successes did not start out there. My successes started in here, in these classrooms, on these playing courts, and in this community. The foundation was laid by my family, my teachers, my coaches, and friends who believed in me, often more than I believed in myself. My education at Luverne taught me how to work hard, how to compete, and perhaps most importantly, how to gracefully fail and to try again. I left here with a very strong work ethic, a resilience and perspective that has really served me well over the last 35 years. Of course, when I was in high school at Luverne, I did not realize that all those late nights studying, pushing through those hard practices, and being held accountable by my teachers and my coaches was preparing me for other challenges in life, far bigger than winning that game or that final exam. Being recognized today is not about what I've done since graduation. It's really about the village that is here and which raised me. As I said, my family, my friends, my mentors have all been a part of this journey that I've been on. Being here today and this weekend really feels like I've come full circle, because while careers can take us far from home, what grounds us are the lessons and values that we learn from this place. And eventually, as I said, life has a way of bringing us all back, in gratitude, in perspective, and in recognition of where it all began. I truly believe that individual successes are always connected to the people and places that set us all on our way. So while my name is going on that Hall of Fame, I see this as much more than a personal honor. It's a reflection of the people and community who shaped me. My story is really all of our story, of a place that gives its students the roots that they need and the wings to go out into the world. So standing here among my family and my friends and all of my mentors, I want to share the bond that is Luverne. And I'm reminded again that really no matter how far the roads take us, we always come home.
Jim Connell's giving her a bad time because she went over the 2-minute allotment. We were listening to him on the hockey. I couldn't resist. Our next inductee, Dr. David Peepgrass. David graduated from Luverne High School in 1958. He completed his bachelor's degree and medical degrees from the University of Minnesota. After an internship in New Hampshire, 3 years of military service, and 1 year of general surgery residency, his neurosurgical residency was completed at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Dr. Peepgrass remained in the neurosurgical department at Mayo, eventually becoming a professor in 1988 and serving as the chair of the neurosurgical department from 1992 to 2004. David has been very active in various organizations surrounding the area of neurosurgery. He served as president of the American Academy of Neurological Surgery, joint section of cerebrovascular surgery from 1990 to 1991. He held the position of president of the entire AANS from 2002 to 2003. He also served as president of the Society of Neurological Surgeons, the Senior Society from 2003 to 2004. In 2004, Dr. Peepgrass was named the first recipient of the Founders Laurel Award of the Congress of Neurological Surgeons, which is a professional association representing neurosurgeons, neurosurgical residents, medical students, and allied health professionals. The Laurel Award recognizes exceptional service, lifelong dedication, and meritorious accomplishments in the field of medical education. Dr. Peepgrass is most proud of 3 awards from the Mayo Clinic. He was named the inaugural Matthews Professor of Neuroscience in 1994. He was selected as the Distinguished Mayo Clinician in 1998 and named the Distinguished Mayo Alumnus in 2022. The Minnesota Neurological Society presents annual awards for outstanding clinical and basic science research papers. The awards are called the Peepgrass Awards for his contributions to the work of the Society. Dr. Peepgrass did his research in the area of surgical treatment and epidemiology of occlusive cerebrovascular disease and the management of arteriovenous malformations and intracranial aneurysms. And I dare you to say that fast 3 times. He has published over 200 articles, written multiple book chapters, and has served as a reviewer for neurosurgery, stroke, and the New England Journal of Medicine. He has spoken at many conferences and has shared his knowledge all over the world. With those accolades, it is easy to understand that Dr. David Peatgrass is now part of the Luverne Alumni Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
This is a real honor. Thank you. Thank you to the people who nominated me. Thank you to the committee for recognizing me. I was impressed by the words down here, learn, live, and lead. That made me reflect on my own life. My parents, my mother was a teacher in the Luverne school system and ending up in special ed. My father, as long as I can remember from my youth and my early adult years, was on the school board of Luverne High School, was a close friend and supporter of Harvey Eatrum, the superintendent. And he was part of the new high school. So proud when the new high school was built here. We were among the first graduating class from this new high school before this new building was built, surely. We played our football games at the fairgrounds, however, not out here. So I was imbued very early on in life with lifelong learning. And it's, I think, something that I still strive for, not only for myself, but my family and other people, to take a wide view of learning. It's so important. As far as life goes, neurosurgery doesn't contribute so much to an easy life. Days at the hospital were very long, and my family's suffered. My wife raised the family, I think. For a while, I prided myself in thinking I was in a groove, and then I realized that groove is a rut. At one time, I told my wife, save me from myself. It was really arduous, long days in the OR, meeting, getting ready for the next presentation, writing this, and educating. So my life was, as a profession, was not what I would say was for everybody, but it was fulfilling, and I think in some ways recognized at Mayo, as you've heard. As far as leading, I never considered myself a particular leader, but I thought it was important to be at the table, to hear what people were saying, and try to influence the decision that we as neurosurgical educators might go. At one point, one of the executive council for the specialty organization that oversaw training of young neurosurgeons came to me at a meeting and said, we want you to come on the executive committee. We want you to be a part of our group that's going to think about this. I said, me? Why me? I didn't consider myself of those credentials. And he said, because you have common sense. And I guess that's where I would leave it. You know, lifelong learning, lead a fulfilling life, but don't be overwhelmed by it. And maintain common sense. So I'm honored to be here. It's a great honor. It would be a great honor for my parents to see this recognition. So thank you very much.
Our next inductee into the Alumni Hall of Fame is Richard Dick Wildman. Dick graduated from Luverne High School in 1939, and he was the class salutatorian. Although excelling in football, he also played basketball for the high school team and helped them reach the Minnesota State High School Tournament in 1939. His love for football and passion to understand the game led him to numerous honors on the gridiron. After high school, Dick attended the University of Minnesota. Because there were no scholarships in those days, Wildman walked on at Minnesota with Coach Bernie Bierman at the helm. As a freshman, he had to play on the practice squad with all the other freshmen because freshmen were ineligible to participate under NCAA rules. Starting in the fall of 1940, Wildman played on the offensive line as the right tackle. He anchored the back-to-back national championship teams of 1940 and 1941, the last time Minnesota has won a national championship in football, I might add. We're still waiting. Dick was a consensus All-American in both 1941 and 1942. He finished 7th in the Heisman Trophy voting in the fall of 1942. As a senior, he was the team captain and also voted the Gophers' most valuable player. Coach Bierman called Wildman the best tackle ever. The Green Bay Packers selected Wildman in the first round with the 8th pick of the 1943 NFL Draft. After playing in the East-West Shrine Game and the College All-Star Game on August 25th of 1943, he was called into the Navy within a week. He served nearly 3 years during World War II on a boat in the South Pacific. The Packers re-signed him on May the 23rd, 1946. At 6 feet 2, 220 pounds, Dick was a really tough player, as demonstrated by playing on both the offensive line and switching over to play on the defensive line. He was one of the last players in the NFL to play both offense and defense. Dick played professional football for 7 seasons and missed only 2 games during that span. Wildman served as team captain for the Packers from 1948 to 1951. He officially retired from the Packers on July 15, 1954. He came back to the area running a hardware store in Redwood Falls. Besides what has been mentioned already, here are a few of the accolades bestowed upon Dick Wildman. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1957. He was ranked number 8 in all-time Gopher players by Ainsworth Sports. He was inducted into the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame in 1973. He was named All-Pro on both the offense and defense in 1947. And in 1993, he was inducted into the Golden Gopher Football Hall of Fame. Please welcome Richard Dick Wildman into the Luverne Alumni Hall of Fame, accepting on his behalf his daughter, Mayo Wildman.
Thank you. On behalf of my family, my brother Dick, my brother Dave conveniently live far outside the state of Minnesota, so I'm here to accept this honor on my dad's behalf. So, and then there was this football player. I found just had a little note card that he used. He was often called when he was at the U and after the U to speak in front of groups in small towns and large towns. And he had this little note card that he used just as a little tickler point. And I'm just going to point out a couple of the items that he would talk about. I'm not going to talk about them necessarily, but the first thing on the card is be an expert. Whatever your job is, whatever your position is, do everything you can to become an expert in that. A notation that team sports means that everyone needs to get along. He talked about his coaches. He talked about his teachers. One of the main lessons that he learned involved the fact that individual skills, individual personal skills, are what it takes to make a team successful. He talked about attitude, and he talked about paying the price. And that this was necessary both in football and in business. You've got to go the extra yard and pay the price to excel. And most of all, he ended with, always remember that you are representing your town, your school, your family, and the youth of this nation. Thank you all for this honor on behalf of my father.
And now we move to the Educator Hall of Fame. We have 4 inductees today. Our first inductee is Lauren Carroll. Lauren started his teaching career in Belle Fourche, South Dakota in 1960. He then moved to Del Rapids, South Dakota, and spent 11 years teaching and coaching. Lauren led the Warriors to back-to-back state appearances in basketball in 1970 and 1971, finishing 3rd and 4th, respectively. Lauren Carroll took the mathematics position in Luverne in 1972 and spent the next 28 years caring about his students, teaching math, advanced math, and conducting himself in a very professional manner. One of Lauren's strengths in teaching was coaching. Coaching is teaching. He provided great energy and character building, coaching basketball for 18 seasons. Carroll's teams won 2 Southwest Conference championships and made 10 appearances in the District 8 championship game. Luverne won 7 of those contests, including 5 in a row from 1977 through 1981. The highlight of his career came in 1983 when Carroll guided the Cardinals to a region championship and finished as state runner-up, losing to the Barnum Bombers in the championship game. Luverne returned to the regional finals in 1984, losing to Wells. Carroll said that his 1984 team may have been a little better than the 1983 team. Just don't tell the 83 team. Lauren Carroll ended his basketball coaching career with an overall record between Minnesota and South Dakota of 429 wins and 235 losses. He was inducted into the Minnesota Basketball Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2013. He also served the community by painting houses in the summer and filling out tax returns for senior citizens. Please welcome Lauren Carroll into the Luverne Educator Hall of Fame.
I'd like to take you back a little bit in history. In those 2 state variances in South Dakota, we got robbed. There's no doubt in my mind. Excuse me. In one of those years, we probably should have won it all. If you think I'm nervous, I am very nervous. I probably would be more comfortable with a piece of chalk and a blackboard and chalk all over my body, especially my face. Sometimes I got overindulged. But the school system now have destroyed that because there's no longer chalkboards or chalk. It's whiteboards. And I'm not sure what I would look like under those conditions. What I'd like to do is tell you a little story about what I think was a major accomplishment to our school system in the math department under my leadership, which occurred in about the 1990, middle of 1990, about 10 years before I retired. In 1990, I went through a major life-changing job. Because in 1990, after 30 years of coaching, one as an assistant coach, 1 year as an assistant coach, and 29 years as a head coach, I decided that I would give up the coaching, which was very difficult for me because it was a big part of my life for 30 years, and I really enjoyed coaching kids. And really, the only reason I got into teaching was because I wanted to be a coach. I was thoroughly inspired by a high school coach when I was growing up. So he was the one that really convinced me to get into education. But I gave up in 1990, the coaching position because it was right. I felt it was really right at that time to do so. There were many reasons for turning the job over to someone else. I shed a lot of tears in making that decision, and it was very painful, but it was probably the best move for me at that time. And what this did for me is give me a lot of time to teach mathematics. And it gave me an opportunity to try and do something in the math area to improve our curriculum, make it better. There was really nothing wrong with our math curriculum because it was developed by some very competent people over the years. But I felt that we should add something to make it a little bit better. And what I wanted to do was to introduce an advanced placement class. An advanced placement class is a college-level class taught to high school seniors with the idea that if they were successful, they would be able to earn college credit and get a little bit of a head start on their college career. And it's something that I wasn't going to accomplish on my own. I needed a lot of help. But we started the process, and the big part of it was to get to the administration and talk to them about what I thought would be a good plan to be able to introduce this college level class. And that class was called calculus, which seems to just, the word itself, seems to scare a lot of people for some reason. But I did get the good graces of the administration to go ahead. So that was the start. But the big part of it was to recognize that not all of our math students wanted to take calculus, nor were they capable of taking calculus. So we had to identify the best, maybe 15 to 25 kids in each grade that had outstanding math ability. And that was a big challenge, because where do you start? Well, at that time, our sixth graders were in about 5 or 6 sections, and at that level, there was one teacher who happened to teach mathematics. So the ideal place to identify those kids would be in the 6th grade. And the teacher in the 6th grade at that time was Julie Schuer. And she was very, very capable of identifying those kids with outstanding math ability. So we relied on her to take and make one of those 5 or 6 sections, one of them, we had to put in the best math student. And this was kind of what you might call an honor group of math students. And our idea was to keep them together throughout the rest of their math career. So that was the next big hurdle, but she was very capable of doing it. And I'm sure she did a lot of research, and what she did was talk to a lot of teachers who allowed her to identify those kids. That was the first, one of the early hurdles. Then the next hurdle was to accelerate these kids. By that I mean, as 8th graders, these students that we selected in this group had to be able to take Algebra 1. And Julie Shear, who was the 6th grade math teacher, and Joe Roberts, who was the 7th grade math teacher, did an excellent job of doing it. So we accomplished that goal. Then the next year, those 8th grade students became 9th grade students, and Joel Swanson, at that time, taught them geometry. Then the next year, when they are 10th graders, they took Algebra 2. And it was Terry's Alto's responsibility to get them through Algebra 2. Then, as juniors, I got them in advanced math. So now what we have accomplished in those years is we have accelerated one group of kids so that they, as seniors, were in a position to be able to take this advanced placement course, calculus, if they chose to do so. And as I taught them in the 11th grade, the junior year, I encouraged them to take the opportunity to take calculus, because it had great rewards for them. I know they were a little bit skeptical, and I think we probably had, in that first year that we did this, maybe we lost a couple of students because they didn't want to take the challenge. But the one that decided to, I taught them a whole year of calculus. In the first semester, we covered maybe the first semester of calculus. And the second year, or the second semester, we taught them the calculus 2. And then we did this from a college textbook that the school purchased for this class. So we were successful in getting through Calculus 1 and Calculus 2. And at the end of the school year, I set aside about a 2-week period to go through an intense review so that they would be prepared to take a test to see if they would qualify for college credit. At the end of that 2-year concentrated study, I took the test, which was sent out from the state of Minnesota, and administered to them that test. Then, after they completed the test, we sent it back to the state of Minnesota to be corrected. It is here it was determined whether or not they were going to get college credit. And to get college credit, for some reason, the test at that time was scored on a scale of 1 to 5. And to get college credit, they had to score at least 3 or above. And our results were amazing. But that didn't surprise me, because I knew the type of students that we were dealing with. And those kids did exceptionally well. We did have some failures, not failures, but they didn't qualify. And I tried to explain to those kids that even though you didn't qualify, you did a good thing by taking the course, because later on in their college career, they may be required to take this calculus course. And I told them, since you have been through this college program already, when you go through it the second time, it'll probably be one of the easiest classes that you're going to have to take in college, because we had covered everything. And that turned out to be very true. I had some kids come back that had happened to them, that had happened to them, and they were very thankful that they had the opportunity to take calculus in high school. So we accomplished a big thing. We proved to our school system that we had a bunch of very good math students who were very capable of taking a college level course. And I was very proud of our staff, and I was very happy that the idea that I came up with, the plan that I was thinking about, was a great success. But I think the fact that we were successful started the ball rolling. And by that I mean, I think other teachers in our system realized that, hey, maybe we should be trying to do the same thing. Try to get an advanced placement class in our curriculum. And they did so. And they got about the same success that I did. So what we actually encouraged was the study of a lot of college courses at the senior level with the idea that they were going to get college credit. And this was a big thing, because they got a head start on their college career, and it probably saved them a lot of money, because they probably got their degree much earlier than they would have by not taking that class. So I hope that advanced placement classes are always going to be a part of our system here, because it's a big plus for our school district to be able to say, hey, we have a lot of ways in which you can get college credit. And that's a big thing. It's a big thing for these students, because the cost of the college education is just crazy. I can't understand how people can afford to get a college degree in this day and age. And you as parents have to think about, hey, if he's going to go, if my student is going to go to college, I have a big decision to make about how I'm going to finance that. I thank very much the committee for this honor that they bestowed on me. And I hope that my legacy, when they think of my Bobby, will always be one of, he was a solid basketball coach, but his greatest strength was in the classroom. Thank you very much.
Next, excuse me, next up for the Educator Hall of Fame is Greg Gropel. When talking about leaving a legacy, if you look up the word in the dictionary, and I know those are kind of old school for the younger generation in the audience, you will likely find a picture of Greg Gropel next to the word legacy. In Greg's case, it was a triple legacy. First off, he started the community education program in Luverne. Secondly, he founded the Luverne Dollars for Scholars program. And thirdly, he created the Luverne Alumni News publication. And if that isn't enough, he also taught elementary school, Title I reading and math, and also taught elementary physical education. Greg graduated from Ivanhoe High School in 1963. He went to Winona State College, graduating with a bachelor's degree in elementary education and physical education. He completed his master's degree in 1990 in the area of community education. Greg started with the Luverne school system in the fall of 1967. He worked in the elementary school through 1978. He then started and built the community education program over the next 20 years. Those programs stimulate and enhance all learners from 3 to 103 years of age. He organized all the summer recreation programs, including the management of the outdoor swimming pool. The Dollars for Scholars program was established in 1983. The first scholarships of $500 were given in the spring of 1984 to Vicki Roberts and Lauren Halverson. Greg oversaw the growth of the endowment, actively seeking donations, which now touches just about every graduating senior each year. The endowment is the second largest in the country for Dollars for Scholars at just over $13 million and annually provides over $500,000 to our graduating seniors. His impact on Luverne students will last forever. As part of his master's degree, Greg started the Luverne Alumni News. This publication reaches almost all Luverne alumni, keeping them informed about their alma mater and the happenings in the community. This has resulted in tremendous support for the school, the community, and to the Dollars for Scholars program. Greg was named Teacher of the Year in 1972. He was inducted into the Mankato State University Hall of Fame for his humanitarian work establishing the outstanding community education program in Luverne. He worked closely with Robb County, developing several plans for construction projects at Shoneman Park. Greg is also a proud member of the Luverne Rotary. Please help me welcome Greg Gropel into the Luverne Educator Hall of Fame.
Well, we could talk about a lot of things, Dollars for Scholars, community education, summer recreation program. I guess I'll start with Dollars for Scholars, which was started in '83, you said. We got a gal from Mankato that was going to Mankato State, was interning with Dollars for Scholars out of St. Peter. That's where the national headquarters is. She came in and started to explain a little bit about the scholarship program and how it worked. We want to set up your program. We want to make sure that any dollars that you would get, that you just hang on to the principal and give out the interest. So I sent out letters to several people in the community. We got together and we talked and we decided we would form this Dollars for Scholars program. And of course, over the next couple of years, we set up a board of directors, and I see Larry Nelson here. He was one of the first members on that board of directors. Don Klosterberg, he was later he came on. There's a story about how he came to be. But anyway, we started to grow, and Harvey Etram was the president of the Dollars for Scholars program for a while. And then he said, when we were trying to recruit, trying to find money, he said, well, why don't you write one of the Anderson boys a letter? Well, there were only 3 Anderson boys, Quentin, Vernon, and Curtis. So which one do you write? Well, we wrote to Curtis Anderson, and by golly, he gave us some money for a scholarship program. So we're going along pretty good. And then Harvey Etram said, you need a lawyer on this committee. You need a lawyer on this committee. In comes Don Klosterberg. Thank you, Don. And we've done quite well, and Don has been a great leader for the scholarship program. He deserves a lot of credit. And I'm looking at, in, let's see, 2004. In 2004, we finally gave out $1 million to about a total of 886 students. Fantastic, $1 million. And I read back, well, we compiled a flyer that time, and we listed everybody that graduated from the school and their scholarship money. And it was like $1,060,000, something like that was given out. And I picked up that old folder, and I noticed that I had written in there one time, I said that we've given out this much money in 21 years. What's going to happen in another 21 years? Well, 21 years happens to be this year. Over 2,000 students have received money, and I think that the total is something like $7,800,000 given to these students. Fantastic. One of the things that I think about when we started the Alumni News, that was back in 1990. I was working on my master's degree, as Mr. Alfkoff said. I had to have a project, and instead of going to Mankato for a class, I was able to do an intern project right here in Luverne. And did the intern project with Steve Perkins at City Hall. And one time I had heard Roger Tollison say at a Rotary meeting that it would be nice if we had a newsletter that went to all the graduates. So that's where I got the idea for the newsletter. It's from Roger. And I thought I was pretty good at putting together budgets and everything. So I put together a budget. We sent off a grant to the Southwest Initiative Fund. They agreed to it. And of course, working with Steve Perkins of the Luverne Economic Development Corporation, the purpose of the newsletter was if someone was going to start a new business, to think of Luverne. Or if you wanted to relocate your business, think of Luverne. Or if you just wanted to retire, come out here and retire in Luverne. Be here. So that worked out pretty good. So we started going through all the newspapers and pictures, trying to get all of the names of the graduates that graduated from Luverne, which we succeeded. But again, we don't have addresses for all these people. So Roger Tollison allowed us to put in the names of all the students that we didn't have addresses for in his announcer, free of charge, and we started getting addresses for these individuals. And we sent out a newsletter, and then a second newsletter, and the database got to be so large, we ran out of money. So we had to go back to the initiative fund and see if they would support us for a couple more issues, which they did. So we started to send out the newsletters, continued. We were getting contributions to help fund the newsletter, and this was in '90. We still had the Dollars for Scholars program in effect, and so I didn't really say anything in the newsletters about
is Katie Crowes Hemming. Katie joined the Luverne Public School staff in the fall of 1963. She had recently completed her Bachelor of Science degree from Mankato State College. Her assignment in Luverne was teaching girls physical education and health. A decade into her teaching assignment, the Title IX legislation made co-curricular activities accessible to female athletes. Starting in the fall of 1974, Luverne offered track and field, volleyball, and gymnastics as interscholastic sport options for females. Katie stepped in and became the first head coach of the track and field team, the volleyball team, and the gymnastics team. She continued her education in the early 1980s, earning certification in adaptive physical education. She developed the first adaptive physical education program offered in the Luverne schools. Katie also guided the Special Olympics bowling and track and field programs. She became a pioneer in not only girls' sports, but also Special Olympics. She organized and hosted Cardinal Sports Day, a sport activity day opportunity for students with like disabilities to compete in a variety of athletic events. This community sport day was held in Luverne from 1987 to 1998. In 1999, Katie was honored as the Outstanding Special Olympics Coach of the Year. Katie served on state-level committees to develop curriculum for health and physical education. She represented Southwest Minnesota for the Minnesota State High School League as a champion for interscholastic sports for females. Katie was voted Luverne School Teacher of the Year in 1987 by her peers for excellence in the adaptive physical education program. She was selected as a Woman of Excellence by the Delta Kappa Gamma organization. She also served the community of Luverne as a board member with Rock County Opportunities. Today she enjoys traveling and spending winter months in warmer climates. I can't imagine why. Please welcome Katie Hemming into the Luverne.
What a deal. I am still unbelieving, and to be up here with these amazing people is, out of my league, I think. I'm really honored and humbled. 2 minutes to say thanks and appreciation to all the people that, made my 36 years a real adventure, which I very much enjoyed. There were lots of opportunities and lots of help. All of the people that enable us to do our jobs can't begin to mention it all in these 2 minutes. But still the most important ones to me are the students, because that's what we are here for. That's what we were, teachers, and we had great students. And I just can't say enough. It's so meaningful. And to see some of them out here and on the street, it's just really awesome to realize what they have accomplished, and hopefully that I had some part in that encouragement. To be a part of their lives was so special for me, and I certainly do hope and pray that those experiences were positive for them. Who would ever in my wildest dreams did I think in 1963 that there would be interscholastic sports for girls in 10 years? Beyond, never my wildest dreams. So to have had the opportunity to be a part of the development of that and to bring it to Luverne and be involved, that's beyond absolute wonderful feeling, because sports was fun. I enjoyed sports. I won't repeat my interscholastic activities for you people, but it was fun to be sharing those experiences with all the athletes that came. I must say, I'm glad we had great athletes. To all of the sports the girls' sports, well, the men's too, but they have done such amazing things. I mean, I can't believe you read the paper and the accomplishments of our girls and student athletes. And to think that all started and I was involved with that just is really exciting. Track and field, man, what they've done. Vicki Henderson was my student teacher and then great teacher and that first basketball coach, and what an amazing job that she did. MJ, who nominated me, I had to pay her for it, but that's okay. She did an amazing job with volleyball. Went to the state tournament, awesome. And now Sarah DeVere, a graduate and former volleyball player, doing a great job. Gymnastics, Phoebe Flom was one of the gymnasts. And now they've just accomplished so many things. And all of the other sports as well, but those are the three. Of course, Vicki Henderson said she started the basketball program. And amazing teacher, amazing coach. So the best years of my life. And MJ, we taught together. I had to straighten her out as a student, but she turned out pretty well. Developmental adaptive physical education. People would say, what is that? Well, it was an amazing thing. I was so glad that I had the opportunity to be a part of that, to help individuals with gross motor delays or disabilities. And it was so really exciting and fun and rewarding. So many instances that kids would, they couldn't throw a ball. So, after a while, they could throw it. Maybe it wasn't very far, but they could throw it. And one of the most exciting things that I think of as a student who was very visually impaired. And so she wanted to shoot a basket. Okay, so I lined her up, throw the ball up. Well, you gotta move it this way or that way. Well, after about 4 or 5 tries, she could make a basket. A big deal? You bet. It was a big deal. And with that, I got involved with Special Olympics. It was here before. I didn't create that program. I think we added to it. We had an absolute great time. The kids are awesome. And to see the accomplishments that they have. Going to state meets was an experience. The competition was great. The dance afterwards was why the kids wanted to go. They love to dance. One other thing. The girls that were in those early years, there was, and I don't remember the years, but I went from 7th and 8th grade, girls, health and PE, to 9th and 10th grade. So there was a group then that had me for 4 years. And they survived it, and they're all doing pretty darn well. And the one thing that, when I see some of the students from those early years, their first comment is about the gym suits. And so this was a step up. This was just an ugly gym suit. Not mine, by the way. This is a step up from the really ugly blue gym suits. I do hope that those girls have better memories than ugly gym suits. Thank you.
And lastly, Joe Roberts. Joe came to Luverne in 1963 to teach math in Luverne Public Schools. He graduated from Mankato State College. His high school days were spent in Worthington, earning 10 varsity letters in football, baseball, and basketball. Joe devoted his life to the youth of this community. From 1965 until 2005, Joe dedicated himself to summer baseball, running the Little League in Luverne. He also coached the American Legion and VFW baseball teams for several years in the summer. For that dedication and commitment, the fields by the county garage are named after him. To have your name attached to baseball fields is a testament to the time, energy, longevity, and passion, not only for the game of baseball, but for the youth of the community. His leadership in the baseball program and his architecture of the entire youth program has established Luverne as a baseball power since the mid-1960s. Joe was an accomplished math and algebra teacher, earning Teacher of the Year by his Luverne teaching peers. Joe worked with the title program in math and was touted by the United States Department of Education for making a 17-point gain in test scores during 1 year from pre to post-test scoring. From the stories I've been told, and likely, maybe, from Lauren Carroll, Joe was a little bit of a human eraser. We've heard from Lauren tonight about chalk. I think Joe also had the same tendency to have chalk over his arms, pants, shirt, shoes on a daily basis. Joe also worked in the athletic department at school as a junior high basketball coach for many years. He was an assistant football coach. The football team won 4 Southwest Conference championships and 3 section championships while Joe served as the offensive coordinator for the Luverne Cardinals. He was the head baseball coach for 19 years. His team captured 4 district championships, 3 Southwest Conference championships, and were Region 2 champions in 1972. Joe retired from teaching in 2002 after 40 years in the classroom. Please welcome Joe Roberts into the Luverne Educator.
As we drove up today, Todd Hoy was waiting outside for me. I'm going to get him into trouble, but I got to tell the story. I just have to. It was the first day of freshman football, and I was there. When practice was over with, I was downstairs showering, and a couple of the kids walked into the coach's office, and they said, "Coach, Todd rode his bicycle all the way in from his farm to practice." I said, "He what?" "He rode his bicycle from his farm into practice." Now there's a young man who wants to do something, right? He couldn't get mom and dad to sign the paper consenting his participation in football. So he got on his bike and drove it into practice. Awesome. Mom and Dad did eventually sign it for him. So we had Todd with us put kind of a bow on this, on the whole thing, I want to switch to his senior year. We lost a very good quarterback a couple of games in, and had to put a sophomore at that position. That's how come I got to be offensive coordinator, is I had coached the sophomore the previous year when he was on my freshman team. So that's how that happened. We were in the tournament, and we were playing Wyndham. And they were a very, very good football team. Some say it's one of the finest football teams Wyndham had. The Wyndham men were going up and down the Luverne sidelines and trying to get bets. And the bet wasn't whether Wyndham would win. The bet was whether Luverne would score. And you want to know? For 3 quarters, they were right. But our big line won, and we scored 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter to beat them. And Todd was the leader of that. It was just a tremendous offensive line. So, Luverne is the only place I've ever taught. I came here as a practice teacher, and when I was finishing my practice experience, why the principal called me in, John Olson, and said, "Joe, how would you like to stay?" And I did for 40 years. And it's been wonderful. Luverne is blessed, with an outstanding faculty and excellent administrators. If you're a young teacher, there are sources of information all over the school. Excellent, excellent teachers that left. More than willing to help. Warren talked about the creation of the healthiness program. It affected the 6th grade and the 7th grade because we had to make up 1 year. We had to have the kids ready for algebra in 9th grade. So that was fun. And it created another opportunity. And it made us able to pick out kids who were struggling in that. And created a classroom where the numbers were small and individual instruction could be given. You know, math is like climbing a ladder. You got to take each step at a time, and if you miss a step, bad things could happen. And that's true with math. You just have to stay on it. And that's why this class was so important. I could wait a little longer. I didn't have to move on. I could wait until the kids had it. They had to accomplish that step. And then we moved on. To say that I'm proud of being a Luverne teacher is an understatement. What a wonderful place to spend a lifetime. And then add to it, I get the opportunity to coach kids from 3rd grade to 8th grade in baseball during the summer. What a blessing that's been. And I want to thank the moms for being an important part of our program. You can read stories of Little League, parents fighting, etc., all kinds of problems. That's not true in Luverne. And our mothers had a great deal to do with that. You ever heard "good job"? Well, that was said not only to their child, but also to the child that's probably in their neighborhood or maybe a part of their church. Or maybe it was just that a good job had happened. So thanks, Moms, for starting our program out with positive reinforcement. Very proud of Joe Roberts Fields. Very proud. But none of that would have happened without that guy. And Greg was marvelous. You realize, with our first trip down there, the backstops were telephone poles and chicken wire. The fences were snow fences, and most of those were down. And that's how we started. That man, all by himself, built us dugouts. Concrete floor, 6 pillars, a nice roof with shingles. Okay, so it's just been wonderful. And this has been very long already. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me come here and be a part of your community for 40 years.
At this time, we will now proceed to the canopy area for the unveiling of the names for the Alumni Hall of Fame. And then we will come back inside and proceed to the second floor on the mezzanine level for the unveiling of the Educator Hall of Fame names. A reminder for those that may want or need, we do have an elevator in the Commons area for those that would like to go to the second floor when we head up there. And again, a reminder that light refreshments are available after the ceremony and the unveiling. And that will be served by the Luverne Education Association, and we thank them for their kind gesture to be part of this program. At this time, we will take our inductees off of the stage and we will head to the canopy area. Thank you all for being here.
He so told me how to do this too.